Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Vanessa and you are watching the Exploring Oracle, or the Exploracle for short. So lately I have been going through my entire deck collection, categorizing them, then deciding which ones to keep, which ones to let go of, and which ones I'm not too sure of. I have an entire playlist of all the other videos that I've done. So if you're interested, please go check it out. So for today, we will be taking a look. You know, so while I was taking a look at my collection, I did realize that aside from the fact that I realized I have a lot of decks, I realized that I have a lot of decks that I barely use. And it's different from the fact that since I do have a lot of decks, I rarely get them into my rotation. These are decks that I really don't actively reach out for. and I'm just going to be letting you know why. Okay, so let's start off with this deck. I believe this is a mass market deck. This is the Alchemical Visions Tarot. It opens up this way. As you can see, it's quite new though, so I haven't really used it much, but it's gonna be clearly obvious why I don't use this a lot. But there's a lot of information in this book. It is a collage type deck, which I'm not usually drawn to, but for this case, I do feel like if I have enough time and I get into this, I would really enjoy it. So this merges Jungian philosophies, alchemical philosophies, and brings it to tarot. So, the mixture of all those thoughts or trains of thought and tarot is something that really interests me. And these are the cards. So, as you can see, these are huge. So, just for reference, hold on. For reference, this is a standard tarot size, and this is the size of these cards. So they are huge, barely manageable for somebody like me with small hands. But I don't really think that you're supposed to use this or read with this. It's really more of, at least for me, it's more of really understanding the symbols in each card, getting to know the card, understanding each card, probably more of working with one card a day or a week, a month, however long it takes for you to understand this particular deck. And I think it would take a long time for me, but I haven't been reaching out for it because I do think that it would require a lot of brain power and commitment and time to get to know this deck. And it's something that I don't really have at the moment to really have a focused study on this deck. So it's not something that I use much. And as you can see, there's the cards look gorgeous. I'm not really drawn to collage art much, but this deck, wow. It is glossy. The cardstock is quite thin. Actually, if you wanted to shuffle it, I think you could by using the edges or the corners. But yeah, I think this would be more of a study deck for me, and something that I would read, or I would be more interested in reading about instead of using as an actual tarot. So that is the Alchemical Visions Tarot. Next, let's take a look at the True Black. So this is a True Black Tarot. I put this in because of humidity. But this deck, wow, the art. but anyway, let's take a look at the guidebook first. The guidebook has a lot of information. It's quite informative, so you can use this to, even if you're not familiar with tarot and you're interested in it. The quality of the deck is unmistakable, but I do have a complaint. I really don't like this closure. I feel like it would be more secure if it was wrapped around. But anyway, the reason I don't use these cards or this deck much is because, again, it's a thick deck. The cardstock is like a rose petal, a thick rose petal. It's coated with something that would make it more almost water resistant and make it more sturdy. The art style is stunning, and I I have no words to say about the art. But in handling it, it's just difficult for me. And as you can see, it's actually developing a bow, and I can't really shuffle it back. I have to do it in two piles because it's so thick. And I think usually with decks like that, I'm not as drawn to working with it because shuffling is a big part of my practice, and I also don't like rose petal. Now, they do have a newer deck called the Ephemer Tarot, which has a thinner cardstock, which I love. And I showcased it in a different deck collection series because it's somewhat structured a little bit differently. This is more standard tarot. But yeah, I don't use this deck much, primarily because of how unwieldy it is. And honestly, if you would take a look at it, I mean, and honestly, I feel the energy of this deck isn't for day-to-day kind of mundane questions. It feels a little bit more, I don't know, celestial even. And I just feel like it's better reserved for like more deeper questions, and it's not something that I usually do in my tarot practice. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating to me that it's bowed, and I don't know if that's because of the humidity. But yeah, that is the true black. So I keep that little packet here, maybe there, just to help with the humidity somewhat. Okay, so this is another indie deck. This is the Gift of Life Tarot. I got the second hand. Now, the premise of this deck is it is a set of photos or pictures that the creator took. I believe they're a professional photographer, and they structured it into a tarot. So there is a lot of information here. And this is what the deck looks like. Beautiful images. And I think it did capture the energy of the tarot well. It is bigger than standard tarot. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm not into photographic decks. Love this sun card. But I use these cards. I use this deck more for meditation, or actually I'm really bad at meditation as well. So I try to use these cards for meditation, but it's really more of looking at each card and feeling the feelings that they depict, or understanding the feelings that they depict. And I think it's a very powerful deck for that. I believe there was a card here that actually made me cry, but I'm not sure if it was this one. But yeah, but this deck, it's special. I have tried rehoming this several times because I don't use it. But again, it keeps falling through, or it doesn't happen. And usually when that happens, I do feel like it's the universe way of telling me that you shouldn't let go of this deck. And I think that maybe I should still keep it. So I guess it's a maybe. But yeah, I don't use this for readings. I use it mostly just, I say it's meditation, but I'm not really sure if that's the correct term. But it helps me focus, or it helps me feel emotions when I look at the deck. And sometimes it helps me reflect on how lucky I am. So that type of work. Okay, what next? So let's take a look at another indie deck. And this one, I believe, is out of print. This is the Ember and Aura Tarot. And I think the creator has turned her back on tarot, so she won't be reprinting this deck anymore. But this is, I'm not sure if I'm not sure what edition it's called. But this is the Ember and Aura Tarot, and I was really drawn to this because it is watercolor, and the art style. Love the strength card. And I feel really drawn to the art in this deck. It feels almost magical, um, but I haven't really used it. One, it's because it's bigger. The card size is not something that I would easily be able to shuffle. And two, when I got this, I think just a couple of weeks later, I found out that it was already out of print, and it just, I don't know, kind of makes me feel like I don't want to use it because it's out of print. I like looking at it, but I haven't really read with it. So it's still a keep, definitely a keep in my collection. Love the color palette, favorite colors like the pinks, the neutrals. It's just, maybe if it was a smaller size, I would be more drawn to using it. But yeah. So I haven't read with this, but it is a lovely, lovely deck, and we'll be keeping. So what the guidebook looks like is you have either the card name and then just information and then some upright and reverse keywords. So that's how it is for the rest of the deck. I don't think there are any spreads here, if I recall. Yeah, it's really just the meanings of the cards. Yep. Okay, so that is the Ember and Aura Tarot. Okay, let's take a look at two decks by the same creator. This one is by who's this by? Yana Saint Levy. So this is the Age of Aquarius Tarot and the Pearls of Wisdom Oracle. Now, this one, I have been trying to use this, but it's still something that I don't bring out much. And I think the reason is, first of all, I'm not really into collage decks, and I don't really know why I got this. You know, I felt like drawn to it. It was similar to Daniel Noel vibes that I also want to get, but I haven't really gotten any of her decks yet because, again, I'm not too sure I like this particular art style. And something about the fact that it's also blue that sometimes throws me off. Now, granted, it is a watery deck. It makes you feel that element, I guess, which is why the color is that way, and there's a lot of water elements in the cards. But I feel like decks like the Flow Tarot, you know, are more my jam when it comes to watery decks or watery energy. I also don't really like people in decks, especially body beautiful women who are posing. Yeah, I think this is a maybe. Probably a rehome. I have been trying to rehome this, but I haven't been able to. So, not sure if I meant to work with it, but I don't really have the pull to work with this deck as much as I do, let's say, like the Gift of Life, which I've been trying to rehome, but haven't been able to. The guidebook has some information on the cards as well as some correspondences. The sign, the planet, stone, mantra, etc. You have an evocation, introspection, the light and the shadow meanings. You do get some information here and the correspondences if you're interested, but it's not, it doesn't feel like something that I would want to keep long term. So I think this is a maybe, or maybe a rehome. And the Oracle deck by the same creator is the Pearls of Wisdom. And this one doesn't come with a guidebook, just some information about the cards, not really the meanings. And again, same watery vibes. Of course, it's the Pearls of Wisdom. So I like the keywords. Actually, the art style in this oracle, the art style in this oracle is very similar to the one in the tarot. They make a perfect match. I like the keywords here, but I don't necessarily like the phrases, or how it's phrased. This one will be a rehome or a gift. I'm already thinking of gifting this to a friend who has shown interest in this particular deck. But yeah, I think it's really the art style as well. Maybe it's really just not for me. It's the same reason that I haven't purchased any of Daniel Noel's decks, but not because I don't find them beautiful or that I think, these decks are obviously very beautiful. It's just that maybe it's really not the art style for me. It's not for me. I did get these decks on sale. So, but, so I wanted to see whether I would resonate with them, but it just doesn't seem that way. So this one and the Age of Aquarius Tarot would be rehomed. Next, oh sorry, is a mass market deck, tarot deck. This is the Sufi Tarot, published by Hay House, and I have a full flip through of this on my channel. Now, what I like about this, it does have a lot of information in the guidebook, and the art style is absolutely stunning. It is oracle-sized cards though, which makes it difficult for me to use in readings. So again, small hands, thick cardstock, big size. If you're starting to see a pattern in the decks that I don't really use much, that's it. But I do want to read with this deck, and I do want to read about this culture, and the guidebook is, and I hope the guidebook will help me with that. This is a beautiful Two of Cups. Yeah, there's really a lot about this art that I enjoy looking at. But yeah, I don't really use it much because of the size. And yeah, because if you can see, it covers my entire hand, 78 cards of that size. It's just a little bit too unwieldy for me. Okay, what next? I have a couple more here. This is a tarot of the Holy Spectrum. Ignore the packets and the selenite that you see in some of my decks. I just like keeping them there. This deck I was drawn to because of the art. It's not traditional RWS, but also really beautiful. Now, the reason why I don't work with this deck much is because it doesn't have a guidebook, and it's not traditional RWS, so I don't really trust myself much when it comes to intuitive readings. And it's something that I want to develop, definitely, but it's something that I put off. So usually when the deck that's especially not drawn the same way as an RWS doesn't come with a guidebook, I don't pick it up as easily as I would a standard RWS. But the symbology is there, so I can still read it like an RWS and use a reference for the RWS, but it just gives me a little bit of pause. I will be keeping this though. I do like the art on this deck, and that is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. Alright, next, let's take a look at this deck. This is the Tarot of the Drowning World. God, I forgot the name already. This one is another indie deck that barely wants to come out of its stock box. I got this second hand, traded it with another for another deck. And one, you can barely, I don't use it because you can barely get it out and barely get it back in. Two, it is again oversized. And three, the majors on this deck creep me out. I don't know. The minors I love, but some of the cards here are absolutely just creepy for me. I feel like they're floating, like drowned on a water body, and it's just, I don't like the majors. So maybe let's skip through those. They have some extra cards as well. What I do like are the minors. Now, I don't know if I can just read with the minors. Probably I could, but yeah, the majors creep me out. I I don't think I can keep this deck. I will be rehoming it. As much as I kind of enjoy looking at the minors, there's still some creepy kind of images. I love the, the florals, framing or usually included in the minors, but the rest of the deck I find creepy, for lack of a better term. I'm sure that a lot of people will not be creeped out by this deck. Actually, a lot of people do find this quite beautiful, and I'm not gonna lie, it's actually, I was drawn to this because some of the cards that I saw were really beautiful for me. I mean, but like the hidden faces or the hidden figures, I can't. It is in a linen cardstock. It's also much longer and I can't shuffle it long ways. The guidebook that comes with it is this one. So it looks like there's a lot of information here. I haven't really read through it because, yeah, I wasn't really drawn to using the deck to work with the guidebook. Now, I'm glad that I was able to trade for this because I think I would have been quite upset if I actually bought it, and when I got it, it creeped me out this much. But yeah, that is the Tarot of the Drowning World. Let's just move that to the side. Let's take a look at decks that don't creep me out, that I find absolutely beautiful, but also don't use much. So this is the Wild Child Oracle cards and the Wild Child Tarot. Now, this was illustrated by, I believe, the same artist as the Healing Waves Tarot, which is out of print. And wow, I love the art on this deck. This is mostly animal, nature-based watercolor. Really things that I absolutely love or resonate with. So you might be wondering why I don't use this deck much. And I think it's because I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm trying to think of a reason. Aside from it being fairly new, I just got it this year. I also got it, I got it in a trade. It just, I don't know, I haven't really worked with it and I kept it. It's really beautiful though. The cardstock is rose petal. So it's not my favorite cardstock. But the artwork, or the art is really just beautiful. So I'm not sure why I don't really work with this deck much. Maybe I should start working with it. It comes with a digital guidebook, not a physical one. That is the tarot, and these are the oracle cards. Now the oracle cards do come with a guidebook. So just like a poem for each. So, and this one is an irregular shape, but not difficult to shuffle. It is also in the same rose petal finish, but since there are fewer cards, I can manage it easily, or more easily than the tarot. And again, the artwork is stunning. Honestly, don't know why I don't use this deck much, but I'm going to take it out, so probably just to start using it more. But yeah, this is the Wild Child Oracle. Just beautiful art. And I hope you appreciate looking at art, or tarot art, the same as I do. I mean, that's the reason why I do have this channel, because, well, I hope that that's one of the reasons why you watch this channel, because I mostly just do deck flip-throughs here. You know, so if you're interested in the art, come to my channel. Let's take a look. Okay, next is a mass market deck. This is the Ancestral Path Tarot by Julia Kutcha-Watts. This is in a big top box, which is difficult to open. Already one reason why I don't use it much. Secondly, It is again a huge deck, bigger than Oracle size. So I don't really read with it because it's difficult for me to shuffle. But again, the art here is something that I'm quite drawn to. The colors are somewhat darker or have a darker vibe, but it's really beautiful. And what I like is that the minors, so this is a very diverse deck. And what I like about the minors is that for each suit, it's actually a different culture. So I believe for the swords, this is the Japanese culture. So you have samurais, you have geishas. So each suit will have a different theme. Let me just check. I think Egyptian for the staves. Let me just quickly check the guidebook or the small guidebook here. Okay, the four suits depict representative cultures of four racial groups. So you have Japanese swords, Egyptian staves, British cups, British cups. So this is for British. So I think it's the Arthurian myths and legends, and then you have Native American for the pentacles, which I find really, really interesting. And I wish that there was a bigger guidebook for this because, if I can't really read with the deck itself, I would love to be able to learn more about the cards. Because the guidebook that comes with this deck is quite minimal. So it's just this pamphlet. So I really wish there was a bigger book. Now, from what I know, there actually used to be one, or I'm not sure if this was previously indie, but I don't see it available for purchase anymore. So that is the Ancestral Path Tarot. Next is an indie deck. This is by Sheila Conway, the Shimmering Veil Tarot. And I, of course, was drawn to this because of its watercolor art. There is a decent amount of information in the guidebook. Small thumbnail. And this one, gilded. It has two fulls. We have, I believe, yeah, there's the fool and another fool at the end. Yeah, this one. It's like completing the cycle after the world card. And I love the art on this deck. I love looking at the art on this deck, but I don't necessarily read with it, again, because of the size. It is difficult for me to shuffle. But there is a very different energy coming off of these cards, and it's not RWS based, or at least you don't really see the typical RWS symbolism here. But really stunning cards. So I think majority of the reasons why I don't use some of the decks is because it's just hard for me to use because of the size usually, and because I don't have a good reference to use them. But still would be keeping this deck. I do love the art. Wow. Just really beautiful. From Sheila. Okay. I forgot to mention that for the Ancestral Path, I probably will be rehoming it. I feel like I'm actually just more interested in reading about it than actually using the deck. So if there is a book just for it, I would love to have it. Next is the Textured Tarot. So this one is from Lisa McLaughlin, I believe. And this is what the guidebook looks like. So just a short paragraph for each. I got this deck secondhand. Initially, I thought this was out of print, but I believe she did reprint this deck. So it is collage art. So it's not something that I usually go for. But the style of the collage art in this deck is very seamless. It actually looks I mean, I think what I don't like about collage art is when it's done like very, you know, you can actually see the different elements and it's not a cohesive image. But this one looks cohesive to me. And I believe she also paints, it's not just purely collage, but yeah, I love the art. I really love the art on this deck. And the reason why I don't use it much is because it's difficult to shuffle. The cardstock here it's not really sure what it is. It's not really cardboardy, but it's a little bit stiffer, so it's a little bit thicker. And it specifically states in the listing, or if you look at our shop, that this isn't meant for riffle shuffling, which is again a huge part of my practice. So if I can't really riffle shuffle something, I'm not that drawn to working with it as much. But I do love looking at the art, and I will be keeping this deck. So this is the textured tarot. Okay, so I have a couple more. So this one, I believe, is an out-of-print deck. This is a Bright Future Tarot. It is a workbook and journal. And to be quite frank, I got this because of the workbook or the journal. Because look at, there's a lot of information here for each of the cards. There's a lot of exercises as well. So you have keywords, you have the meaning, and there is some here in the end you have your sample reading questions, multiple choice questions about yeah, so there's exercises at the end of the book, and it comes in the top box. The art style is again a bit of a collage-y type, but collage with painting or something. So I don't mind the art style. It's not something I'm super drawn to, but there are some cards here that I really like. But yeah, I got it mostly for the workbook. At the time, I don't think I knew that it was out of print. So I got this secondhand. Yeah, I'm just not that drawn to working with the deck. And I don't have time to work on the guidebook or on the workbook. But it's actually a different take, or I mean, a different way of presenting tarot. It's quite interesting to me. I will be keeping this. I don't think that I have spent enough time to really understand this deck. Yeah, but that is the Bright Future Tarot Workbook and Journal. As you can see, this is another thick deck. So again, a bit difficult for me to handle. Okay, so just two more decks. So this is the Pagan Otherworlds. This is by Uzi. I know some people don't break the seal, but I did for my deck. Now, I got this deck because it's just, can we just say, it's just a really beautiful deck. Also beautiful linen cardstock. The colors are unique. They're a little bit muted, but yeah, the majors are really well illustrated. The minors here are a little bit pippish, but still detailed, still beautiful. I really love the color story of this deck, and I love the art. It's just beautiful. I find this beautiful. Now, it being a linen deck, I thought it would be easy to shuffle. It is quite long, longer than my hand. But even though it's linen, it's kind of difficult to shuffle. So I don't really use it as much. I love that it is slippery because it's great for, you know, when you fan out the cards, for overhand. But yeah, mostly the size that stops me from using this deck a bit more. I also didn't get the guidebook for this, but I do feel like I can read with this comfortably because it is a standard, or it does follow RAAS symbology. Now, I think one of the reasons why I don't use it as much as well is because it's in a talk box, but that can be easily remedied by putting it in a pouch. It's really more of the size. But I do love this deck and will be keeping this deck. Lastly, we have here the Terra Volatile. Now this this is a big deck. It comes with some alternative cards that you can use. So I've already picked the ones that I like for my deck. And it comes with an entirely new suit, which is the suit of vessels. I don't really use that. Oh, so this is the suit of vessels, and these are the extra cards or the alternative cards. I don't really use it, so I just put it at the bottom of my deck. It is in a beautiful linen cardstock, also fans really well. Now, the reason I don't use this much is because there's so much to get into this deck, and I don't have the physical guidebook. Now, you can look up the meanings online, and I can read with it if I just use the meanings that I have at the top of my head, right? I mean, I know the meanings of the tarot, but I feel like this deck deserves me really knowing what the creator meant or wanted to depict. It's such a beautiful deck. So beautiful, filled with so much symbolism. I think it's really well done. The quality is really good. Now, they came up with the Terra Volatile guidebook. It's a beautiful, beautiful hardbound book, but the cost for it for me to ship it here to the Philippines is just so prohibitive. I actually wish that they have a digital guidebook. Now, as I understand, they used to have the PDF, but they stopped distributing that PDF. But you can get the meanings online. But it's just difficult to keep checking the meanings online, right? So this one, I don't really use much because I feel like I need more information to use the cards, if that makes sense. But it is a beautiful deck, and definitely something that I want to keep using or to keep. So one of my lights just ran out of battery, so I have to charge that before I proceed. But okay, so how I usually end these videos is I pick my top 3, and it's a little bit difficult because these are decks that I barely use. So probably I'm going to choose Terra Volatile, and I think I'm going to just decide based on the art. The Shimmering Veil, and actually the Shimmering Veil, I was thinking of rehoming before, but thankfully that didn't push through because I really do love the art here. And it's a little difficult for me to pick a top 3 of decks that I don't use much. Okay, so maybe it's Amber and Aura. So these 3 are the top 3 on the decks that I barely use. Doesn't mean that I don't like them. These are the ones that I'm really drawn to, and really most of the reasons why I don't use these decks much is because it's just difficult for me to shuffle or to hold them, and that being a big part of my practice makes me not want to use them as much as I do the other decks in my collection. But anyway, I hope you find this video interesting. If you did, please don't forget to click on the like button and do consider subscribing to my channel. See you again next time. Bye!